What's up YouTube, Gemini Johnny back again with another compilation of creepy footage from around the internet. Join me live every Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard as we search for creepy TikToks together. Merch shop is live, so go to the link in the description below to get your own Gemini Johnny merch today. Alright, enough of my blabbering. Without further ado, let's jump right in. It's in reverse. Can't trick me. I did notice, dude has on the same pants as me. What's up with that? It wasn't me, I swear. I got regular legs. Yeah. It's the sphere. Everybody knows about the sphere.
The weirdest things found in human bodies, part 2. Firstly, doctors encountered an unusual case where they discovered 10 latex gloves lodged in a man's rectum during surgery. The patient, a 55-year-old man, was diagnosed with pica disorder, a condition which causes cravings for non-food items, like gloves. Next, a woman went to a hospital for intense abdominal pain, but an x-ray revealed a foreign object resembling jewelry in her stomach. After further investigation, the woman admitted to intentionally swallowing her jewelry to hide it from her husband, who she claimed had a habit of giving away her jewelry to people. Lastly, a man was sent to the ER after having breathing issues. At first, doctors thought it was lung cancer, but during surgery, they made an unexpected discovery. It turned out that a pea had accidentally entered his lung while he was eating. And
I thought that whole, seeds or something getting stuck inside your body and then start growing, I thought that was all a myth. I thought Rugrats just made us think that because of that episode where he swallows a watermelon seed. Now I'm worried about everything I've ever swallowed.
Whatever you do, do not answer this phone call. This is John Pork. Now, he's supposedly a CGI-generated influencer with an unsettling appearance. He seems to be half man, half swine. The creature posts videos of himself dancing and traveling around the world to popular tourist locations. But this is where things get scary. You see, John used to call everybody, but nobody would answer before he was sadly unalived. Yeah, John is no longer with us. He had went out for a night of fun and tragically was unalived. After this, people have been getting strange calls from a haunting contact that says John Pork. And if you answer, this is what happens. Supposedly, if you answer the call of John Pork, you'll summon him from the dead, and at midnight, he'll appear.
Have you guys heard of the gin-filled wedding?
Would you answer the call from John Pork? I probably wouldn't, I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't have answered it if there wasn't the whole, he's no longer with us part. Because that's weird. Why are fake influencers calling? Why are fake influencers a thing? We should stop that. Let's stop doing that. AI influencers, whatever John Pork is. We should stop that. Let's stop making that a thing. I saw there's celebrities now that have fake alter egos that are social media personalities that you can chit chat with. Please stop.
Have you guys heard of the gin-filled wedding? I don't know about you guys, but this story definitely freaked me out. Let me know what you think. So this story takes us back to 1997 in Kuwait, where we meet this woman here named Nora. She actually had her own band that was quite popular in the area, and they would perform at many weddings. And on one particular day in 1997, she received a phone call about someone inquiring about her band playing at an upcoming wedding. Of course, she said yes, and soon enough the wedding came around. Now at this point in time, it was very common for weddings to be held at the homes of the family. And this time it was no different. The wedding was being held at a giant mansion in Kuwait. So Nora and her bandmates get to the house and they notice how beautifully decorated it was. They knock on the door and a woman opens it and lets them in. Nora and her bandmates were then led to a separate seating area. As they were waiting, a woman comes towards them and greets all of the bandmates. She talks to them about how much she enjoys their music, greets them, and gives them all a kiss on the cheek. But this is where Nora saw something very odd. When she went to give the woman a kiss on the cheek, she said that the woman's face was extremely hot, almost as if she had a fever. And she also stated that the woman had a very masculine vibe to her, but she decided to brush it off. So Nora and her bandmates start playing their music and everyone at the wedding is dancing and having a good time. However, in the middle of all this, one of Nora's bandmates noticed something very alarming. She tells Nora that she noticed that many of the women had an abnormal amount of body hair on them. But then she tells Nora that one of the women lifted up her skirt and she noticed that she didn't have regular feet. Instead of having normal human feet, the woman ended up having hooves. Obviously, this freaked out Nora's bandmate quite a lot. Nora tells her friend not to freak out and to continue playing because they didn't want to draw any unwanted attention towards them. A few minutes after that, Nora said the bride and groom finally entered the room. They were both then sat at this weird looking statue that had its mouth wide open. And just a few minutes after that, all of the lights completely went out inside the house. Nora and her bandmates took this as an opportunity to finally escape and they just ran out of the house into the darkness of the night. At this point, it was now around 3 a.m. and the women thankfully ended up running into a man. He asks them what's wrong and they tell him that they were just playing at a wedding at that house behind them. The man was extremely confused and so he asks the woman to point out the house. The women then point at a house that had been abandoned. And the man tells them that no one has lived there for over 10 years.
Over 10 years.
And when the women looked back, the beautiful house that they had arrived to was no longer there. After that night, Nora and her band decided to retire.
Yeah, I'd probably hang up the mic after that too. I think that'd be the last wedding I ever played. Time to go learn how to be an accountant or whatever.
Was this man really a time traveler? In the early 2000s, a man by the name of John Titor started popping off on the internet. Well, you see, he claimed that he was a member of a military unit and was sent back by their time travel division. He went further and provided detailed information about the technology of his time machine, even posting photos about it and explaining how it was invented and how it worked. However, at the peak of his following, he suddenly disappeared and was never heard from again. Some people speculated that he was revealing too much and was captured by the government, but even though his predictions about the future have come true, many people are still asking the question,
were Adam and Eve actually aliens? Some theorists believe that Adam and Eve were not created by a divine being, but were actually sent to Earth by extraterrestrial entities. According to this theory, these beings saw Earth as a suitable planet to sustain life and decided to seed it with their own genetic material. Adam and Eve, therefore, were the first humans to be created on Earth, but their DNA was not entirely of this world. This could explain why the story of Adam and Eve has so many similarities with other ancient creation myths from around the world. Some proponents of this theory suggest that Adam and Eve were not the only extraterrestrial beings to be sent to Earth. They believe that there have been multiple instances throughout history where advanced civilizations have intervened in human affairs, such as in the construction of ancient megalithic structures or the...
I've actually believed that for a long time, that all of the religions are probably based on the same thing that happened a long time ago, and people that didn't really understand science and the nature of things wrote that down in a way that they interpreted it, and it was supposed to be a guiding set of principles that you should live your life by. And then over the years, I think that different versions of that have come out to suit different powers' needs at any given time. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that.
And that's all I have to say about that.
These are the 9 deadliest animals to humans. You may think they're polar bears, lions,
Hippos,
or even sharks, but they're not. Wait till you see these. Number 9. Hippos, 500 human deaths per year. Number 8. Elephants, 600 deaths per year. Number 7. Saltwater crocodiles, 1,000 deaths per year.
Mosquitoes,
Number 6,
if they count that.
Roundworm mosquitoes, 725,000 to 1 million deaths per year.
I guess I shouldn't be celebrating with that many deaths per year. But I was celebrating that I got that right because I'm a genius. And we all know this. Just kidding. Just some dumb guy on the internet.
So a lot of people know the movie, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Most people know him as like he's this slasher with a chainsaw. He like wears people's faces and, you know, he's just like his family is helping him like commit all these murders and they're trying to keep it hush because he's crazy and it's like, oh, he's just our sweet little boy. He's just not all the way there. And that's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's what most people know him as, right? But what most people don't know is that it is actually based off of a real story. So there's this guy named Ed Gein, All right, Ed Gein was born in Wisconsin, and he grew up and he was super isolated, like always by himself. People described him as like a weird dude. Like he was very always like by himself, like never really in a crowd or had any friends. He was always like a recluse. Ed Gein started grave robbing and like digging up dead bodies, and he would use their skin for like stuff around the house. He'd use their bones as like utensils, and he has been confirmed to have killed at least 2 people, but they think it's upwards of 10. But yeah, so he was a
Picture behind me is considered to be one of the scariest pictures on the internet. It was the mid-1950s and the Cooper family had just bought their first home in Texas. Excited to finally be living the American dream, they sat down for dinner and decided to take a family photo. They took the photo and it appeared like everything was completely normal. The father, Mr. Cooper, took a picture of his wife, his mother, and their 2 sons. But when he took the film in to get it developed and he got the pictures back a few weeks later, they noticed something very strange. This was the picture they got back.
It's not how that happened. I've done this before.
A mommy influencer was just convicted for lying about her children's kidnapping. In December of 2020, Katie took her 2 children to a Michael's craft store. They bought some items and went back to the car with no issues. But a few minutes later, she called police and said that a couple tried to kidnap her children. A week later, Katie made a video about it and posted it to her Instagram, Motherhood Essentials. It gained over 4 million views, but this time she added more details than she gave to police. She claimed a couple followed her around the store, made comments about her kids, and then tried to take them. She also went on the local news talking about it. So police followed up and she identified this couple. But after police questioned the couple and watched the video, they realized that Katie made it all up. In 2021, Katie was charged with 3 misdemeanor counts for making a false report. This past Thursday, a jury found her guilty on one of those counts. Her bond was set at $100,000.
Whatever you do, do not wear red. In the 1940s, a series of mysterious disappearances occurred in Vermont, in an area known as the Bennington Triangle. 6 people disappeared, one after the other. What seemed like a strange coincidence was that all 6 were wearing red. Glastonbury Mountain is at the center of the triangle. 6 persons went missing in the area between 1943 and 1950, and none of the cases were ever solved. What was the same for all of them was that they all disappeared into thin air, and they were wearing red. The Bennington Triangle has a history of UFO sightings, Bigfoot attacks, and Native American curses. Many people also claim that the area is a window to another dimension because of the many strange occurrences. Due to everyone eventually choosing to move, the town has become a ghost town. But although the town is completely deserted and abandoned, a series of mysterious deaths continues. However, if you ever visit Glastonbury Mountain, just make sure.
Add it to the list. That's a place I want to go now. That sounds tight. A ghost town where people disappear. I'm gonna wear all red. I hope I don't come across as if I'm a gang member. It sounds tight. Whether you see Bigfoot, aliens, or another dimension, I want to go and live stream the whole time. That way, if I slip into another dimension, you guys go with me. You can just never let that live stream go. Hope they have internet in the other dimension. That would suck. Cause what do? You get slipped into another dimension. You just have to make a new life or figure out how to slip back into another dimension. I guess you could just go there in the other dimension and probably... How do other dimensions work? If you know, let me know in the comments.
There's an entire civilization of people that have no idea about the outside world.
Come on, bro. It's 2023.
There's this island called Centennial Island. It's illegal to go there. The Indian Navy patrols 3 miles around. Yeah. You're not allowed to go past that. Whenever the British showed up, whenever they had control of India, they actually took 2 adults and 2 kids back to India. Yeah. The 2 adults died from disease because uncontacted tribe, they don't have like the same immune systems.
Yeah.
And they eventually brought back the 2 kids, but you can kind of see that doesn't really give them a good view of outsiders.
Right.
There's this kid from America. I think his name was John Allen Cho. He wanted to bring Christianity to these people. He actually hired, while it was illegal, these Indian fishermen to bring him close enough. So he actually had a canoe that he dropped down and tried to go there multiple times. But they kept on trying to attack him and stuff. So he'd go back to the boat. Eventually he went there and told the Indian fisher boat to leave.
Yeah.
And he still has I think it's 13 pages that they're able to find of him talking about how he's scared for his life, but how beautiful the sunset is, and he's scared that.
Yeah, that was a crazy story. I remember when that was happening and that dude went missing. Yeah, I don't know what he expected. The best case is they accept you and you disease their entire tribe and kill everyone on the island. Worst case is what happened. Maybe not worst, but it sucks. It is wild to think that there are uncontacted people on the planet still that don't understand electricity and the internet and like the modern world, you know? That's wild. I wonder what they think that guy was. I wonder if they think that the old military guy that took people back to England, I wonder if they think that they're like aliens, or I wonder if they understand that there's a world out there that they're not tapped into. That's my goal, is to get somebody on Sentinel Island to start watching my YouTube videos. It's my goal. Ultimate goal for this channel.
Vatican doesn't want you to know about this time device. In 2002, a book was released by a man named Francois Brune that revealed that time travel may already be possible. Well, you see, he claimed that in the 1950s, 12 world-renowned scientists actually cracked the code on time travel with the ability of harnessing electromagnetic sound waves that had been emitted in the past. He went on to show further proof with a photograph of Jesus's actual crucifixion. However, when questioned about the whereabouts of the device, he mentioned that the Vatican came in and confiscated it, and denying that anything of the sort ever existed. Interestingly enough, in 1988, the Vatican passed a law stating that anyone caught in possession of a device with time travel capabilities will be excommunicated. If the chronovisor was not real, then why was a law such as this passed? Even though you can watch the full video by clicking on the link in the description below, what is the Vatican afraid of? And is it true that?
Never heard of this chronovisor thing, but I'm gonna have to look into that, and if I can figure out how to build it, we're gonna do it on the channel. All right, I don't think I'm gonna be able to build it. Don't get excited, but that'd be tight. If you have directions on how to build the chronovisor thing, let me know in the comments.
If you were wondering how much human skin goes for on the black market,
I wasn't.
It's $10 per square inch. The average human body has up to 2,800 square inches of skin.
It's not a bad deal.
If you were to sell an entire human body on the black market, that would get you about $28,000.
If you're Latino, you've definitely heard of El Cucuy. And for those who don't know, El Cucuy is basically the Latin American version of the boogeyman. For decades, Latin parents have been using the tale of El Cucuy to scare their children into going to bed or to scare their children into behaving well. It's often said that if you don't listen to your parents, El Cucuy is going to come take you in the middle of the night. As for the appearance of El Cucuy, he's said to have razor-sharp teeth like a barracuda, and he's also said to be a cross between a goblin-like creature and a human. But what most people don't know is that the story of El Cucuy actually goes back to Europe. We actually have to go back in time to 1910 in Spain to fully understand where the story came from. It's there where we meet a man named Francisco Ortega who had recently been diagnosed with tuberculosis. Desperate for a cure to his disease, he went to several healers to see if they could do anything for him. That's where they told him that he needed the blood of a child in order to heal himself. And so the healers set off to find a child in order to sacrifice. Once they had found a suitable child, they unalived him and then proceeded to give Francisco the child's blood in order for him to drink it. However, there's also another version of the story that goes back to the 15th century. And the story goes that there was a man that would go around collecting unwanted babies or even stealing them. He would then proceed to take the children to the orphanages, but it's also said that for the most part, many of these children would pass away before making it there.
What is living in the Paris catacombs? Did you know that the remains of 6 million people are buried beneath Paris? The Holy Innocents Cemetery in Paris was built in the 12th century, but by the 1700s, it was full and the country needed a place to bury its dead. The bodies were exhumed and moved to the old mining tunnels underneath Paris. The catacombs are 200 miles of old tunnels that Paris was built on top of. Eventually, the bones were organized into elaborate structures and decorative features inside the tunnels. However, many people say that you can hear voices echoing about the tunnels at night. But what's more interesting is that the police stumbled upon a full cinema and bar inside the tunnels. But when they came back the next day, everything had vanished. They only found a note left behind that read, "Do not try to find us." That is why many people wonder about.
This is a photo that was found on the ground outside of a convenience store in Florida in June 15th of 1989. And that picture to this day has still gone unidentified. They said that this is not your daughter. They did some type of forensic examination of the photo and they came to the conclusion that that was not her daughter. The boy in the photo was thought to be this kid named Michael Henley who went missing also in 1988, which was a year before. And if you look at these pictures side by side, you can see where the similarities come in. But once again, the cop said that's not him. What's crazy is that neither Michael nor Sarah have ever been found, and that picture to this day has still gone unidentified. It has never been identified almost 40 years later.
There's a very famous painting that shows what appears to be men in crafts flying through the sky.
Throughout history, there are these indications of craft.
But you know what I'm talking about? Like, look how it's like a plate turned on its side, and then there's a person inside of it.
Above her left shoulder, there is an object, and if you really zoom in, look at the dude staring up at it, and everything is intentional.
Like here you got Christ being crucified, and then above him, UFOs. That is so strange.
That's pretty weird.
The monster stalking the town of Minerva, Ohio. Meet the Ohio Grassman. These Bigfoot-type creatures are described as being 7 to 10 feet tall, around 300 pounds, and were said to be covered in dark, matted hair. One day in August 1978, local residents Evelyn and Howie Clayton found their German Shepherd lifeless outside their home. Its neck was snapped by something large and powerful. Days later, their grandchildren were over playing outside when they suddenly saw this monstrous creature in a nearby gravel pit digging through some trash. The children were terrified, so they ran inside screaming. Evelyn and Howie then decided to run out and see what the commotion was all about. When they got outside, they too saw what the kids had described. Now, the Claytons would continue to deal with this beast, and some nights it would even come up to the house and peer in through their kitchen window. They would even occasionally see more of these creatures as they drove around Minerva, some of them in groups of 2 hanging around a local strip mine. When the local police were finally called in, all they could find around the Claytons' property were large, faint footprints in the dirt and a terrible smell that lingered in the air. The Claytons, however, weren't the first to have had run-ins with these cryptids. Native American legends from Ohio, dating back hundreds of years, spoke of bipedal ape men that they called the wild ones of the woods. The natives would leave offerings to these creatures to keep the peace. And these stories are why some people think...
Hey, like I've said, my theory is that shapeshifters are all the cryptids. It's probably not right. There's probably just a whole world of cryptids that we don't know and understand. But imagine the kind of cryptids that are in the ocean. Are they even cryptids at that point? What makes a cryptid versus not just being... Like, what's an undiscovered animal versus a cryptid? Late night thoughts.
Are there aliens in this Arctic lake? Back in 1994, enormous pieces of the comet Shoemaker Levy 9 plummeted to Earth, crashing onto the surface of the Arctic, creating a lake about a quarter-mile wide. Now, meteors crashing onto the surface of the Earth is not uncommon, but you see, as the years went along, this lake got progressively deeper and deeper, as if something was making its way towards the core of the Earth. Over the course of the years, scientists have tried to locate the cause of the deepening, but each time, the equipment sent would return damaged beyond measure, with nothing captured as if there was something in the lake causing it. Divers who have been brave enough to venture down in the name of science have often returned emotionally drained, saying that they see a spiraling green light that sucks them in. Even though the lake now has a depth of over 9 miles, the deepening of the lake does not seem to slow down.
Now, that seems like it would be an interesting video topic. I don't know how true that was or how much information is out there, but I'm going to be looking into that for sure because that sounds really interesting. A hole that keeps deepening itself, glowing green light at the bottom. Right up my alley. But hey, there you have it, folks. Another week of creepy TikToks in the books. We did it. We've done it. We're doing it some more. If you don't want to wait till next week to see another one, catch me every Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard, where I go live to search for creepy TikToks together with you, and it's a great time. And I've got another video dropping probably on a Sunday randomly this month. Probably the Sunday before Thanksgiving. We'll see. I'm really excited about that one. So... tune in. I'm just rambling. What am I saying? What am I trying to say? How do I get out of here? Who am I? What am I? What am I doing here? Don't forget to give this video a like. Don't forget to check out the full TikToktober series playlist right over here. And if you'd subscribe, that'd be cool. Last but not least, merch store is live. Go check that out in the description below. Until next time, peace. Let's go.